Who spent their hard-earned student loan money on a vacation last year?
First one's here.
Where'd you go? What did you do there? Who did you go with? I bet I can figure it out, because I have all the facts, tours, and some theories, all from Chapter 3. Welcome, class, to Straight from the Book. These are the videos I make to keep from branching off into the irrelevance. You know, when I start talking about my wife, my kids, and my undergrad years, and I get into football, and how the Bronx are going to lose the Super Bowl. Sorry, I'm doing it again. These videos will help me get right to the point so we can start that quiz. I hope they give clear explanations and engage your mind. You see, I know what you did last summer, because I focus on demographics. These include age, gender, race, ethnicity, income, residential location, disabilities, availability of transportation, health status, educational attainment, home ownership, employment status, and occupation. Woo! Give me a minute. Okay, all of which determines our pastimes. Let's look at the age demographic. In 2012, the U.S. Department of Labor surveyed Americans to see how they spent their leisure time. The age group of 75 and over spent 7.4 hours a day on average engaged in leisure and sport activities, more than any other age group. Unfortunately for most of you in this room, you get to look forward to 4.2 hours a day, less than any other age group. I just found the 2014 survey results online, and it states that most of you are at 5.5 hours a day. Looking at the gender demographic, the book states that female athletic participation has surged in the United States since the enactment of Title IX in 1972, both in high school and college. In 2004, the NCAA noted that 44% of all NCAA Division I student athletes are female. Not only are more girls and women playing sports, but they also are more involved as sport spectators for the NBA, the MLB, the NFL, the NHL, and of course my favorite, NASCAR. Our leisure is shaped not only by age and gender, but also by ethnicity and race and income and residence. For example, the leisure preference of different ethnic groups differ primarily because of cultural distinctions. However, many researchers have found that similarities exist between black and white Americans who define themselves as middle class. Also, while income does not affect the choice of holiday destination, it does affect the mode of travel, such as air versus driving. Consider tourists with higher incomes and how they stay longer and spend more money per day than do those with lower incomes. Where we live affects the nature and accessibilities of pastime opportunities. If you live in an urban location, you are more likely to participate in commercial and cultural forms of leisure. If you live in the rural area, you'll probably be hunting more. Later, after this video, we'll go over lifestyles and the VAL survey in a segment I like to call Prove the Book Wrong. So, before we go into theories, I'm going to go ahead and take a stab in what you did last summer. Most of y'all probably hopped in a car, maybe even carpooled, within the state to a large body of water, like a lake or a water park. And you stayed there for probably about 2, maybe 3 days. And within those 3 days, you spent about 4 hours actually engaged in some recreational activity. And then you head back home. That's only because you worked most of summer. Am I right? Now we turn to theoretical ways of explaining leisure. What is a theory, you ask? A theory is a set of interrelated, testable propositions. Theory attempts to explain why facts are what they are and ask how the world works. Now, don't get that confused with philosophy. Philosophy relates to a belief system about how the world should work. In this chapter, we're going to focus primarily on theories. Some of these theories are simply based on direct observations, whereas others are more comprehensive, involving extensive research testing. Note, not all these theories can completely explain all leisure behavior. They do remain useful, particularly for professionals who provide leisure services because they help predict the leisure needs and interests of clients. Over the years, many theories about leisure have reflected a psychological perspective exploring concepts such as perception, emotion, motives, and personality. Two psychological theories you'll be tested on is going to be over flow and reversal. Flow is perhaps one of the most widely understood theories about leisure, which comes from the psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. I need help.
Mihai Csikszentmihalyi wrote his doctoral dissertation in the field of creativity. This led him to the understanding of the phenomenon of happiness, which he describes as flow experience, in one of his articles written in 1972. The theory became widespread only after 1988. Several of Csikszentmihalyi's books have been published in Hungarian. The Flow, The Psychology of Optimal Experience, and The Evolving Self. His books have been translated into more than 30 languages. Mihai Csikszentmihalyi is a member of both the American Academy of Sciences and the Hungarian Academy of Sciences.
Flow is a state of mind or an experience, a state of experience that we feel when we're totally involved in what we're doing. I began to notice how important this feeling is in the arts, for instance, for painters or musicians who, when a painter begins to fill a white canvas, a canvas with nothing on it, and he or she begins to put colors on this canvas and begins to develop a shape, develop a painting that will be important to them and to the public. The artist completely loses track of the time. They don't notice they're hungry, they're tired. They are just sometimes working for days without stopping. And that feeling that then they try to explain it to someone who wasn't involved in the painting, and they explain it as being completely carried away, almost like being in a river and the flow of the water
Thank you,
takes their
sir.
own.
That's more than enough. Now, reversal theory is a way to explain leisure behavior that is based on emotions, personalities, and motivations. It describes how people regularly shift between psychological states reflecting their motivation style and the meaning they attach to a given situation at a given time. For example, sometimes a crowded, lively restaurant seems exciting and fun, but other times it may make us very anxious. Obviously, what is key in reversal theory is the concept of reversal. That is, by triggering a reversal between states, we can change the meaning and thus our enjoyment of a situation. What seemed serious before can suddenly feel exciting with the right change in situation or mindset. Just like flow, reversal theory has research support, particularly with sports performance and sport violence. Essentially, the sociological perspective explains leisure behavior as activity adapted to the constructions of society. I'll mention two sociological theories here: compensation and spillover, and then symbolic interactionism. This compensation explanation claims people participate in those pastimes that satisfy needs they cannot satisfy at work. A good example of this would be a person that performs physical work throughout the workday chooses just to sit back and rest on his leisure time. In contrast, the spillover idea claims when people are satisfied and fulfilled in their work, leisure activities are chosen that mimic it. A good example of this would be somebody that has great computer skills, that works on computers all day, goes home and uses those skills to socialize on the internet. Symbolic interactionism is a type of perspective that relies on symbolic meaning that people develop and rely upon in the process of social interaction. Symbolic interactionism theory analyzes society by addressing the subjective meanings that people impose on objects, events, and behaviors. Consider a basketball team as an example. Symbols might include their uniforms, their sign numbers on the back, shoes, the ball, the hoops, and so forth. Society attaches general meanings to these symbols, but individuals on the other team, they maintain their own view on the symbols. They just look at them as a whole and see them as the home team, and they have the home team advantage. Finally, we explore a bit of what anthropologists theorize about leisure behavior. Anthropology examines social patterns and practices across cultures. One aspect of such patterns and practices is ritual. Let's consider a theory of leisure behavior based on the idea of a ritual. It is called the anti-structure theory. It is the idea that there are formal rituals that govern people's behavior both inside and outside their everyday life. The anti-structure theory suggests that people venture out of these rituals.
Are we down for that? Oh, they're already starting. Oh, this is going to be fun. This is going to be fun.
And when they do, they gather with others that share the same interests, and they kind of form a temporary sense of social camaraderie. Now they take this leisure very serious. Since I'm near the end of my video, I'll probably stop it and ask the class for some examples. But be aware, this entire chapter, I hope you understand that leisure interests and actions are complex and unique, and thus difficult to explain. Leisure behavior can be explained in part by lifestyles, which are shaped by multiple demographic factors, including age, gender, income, ethnicity, and the rest of them. Also, formal theories that explain leisure behavior come from psychology, sociology, and anthropology. So to add to your vacation last year, and after reading these theories, I'm going to suggest with your 4 hours of leisure, you participated in a leisure event that you attempted multiple times and was very successful. This leisure activity is completely opposite from your job. All of you agreed on the nature of the activity and perhaps decided to keep it a secret. But hey, I got that from the book. Straight from the book.